6 o'clock. I'm going to start the meeting. One of our members is tied up in traffic. When she gets here, she can just add in, and the chairman had something come up, and he's in the meeting by phone. So I'll call the zoning case of 23-000020. It's been heard before. The newest one was published in the Daily Herald on April 25th, 2023 for a public hearing tonight. It's a conditional use to a previously approved zoning relief to allow for a conditional use to construct a warehouse building. Let me make a couple comments before we begin, and it's directed mainly towards the applicant, but if the members of the public are here, listen in. There were concerns brought up by the Village of Carroll Stream and the Highway Commissioner for Wayne Township. Carroll Stream did get back to us, and I know Janice was here, and I had to start because I have an appointment to make, Janice. Carroll Stream weighed in at the end of their letter saying that they'd be willing to sit down with you and the county officials and our zoning staff that knows what's doing to work through and hopefully eliminate problems. If that is done, then there's no concerns by them to go forward, and we have a pretty smooth hearing. Some of their concerns are going to impact the traffic study, and it may bring up questions to your expert, which then would require them to be able to come in and cross-examine them. The purpose of this meeting, really, when you come in front of the zoning board, is we are the forum where you make the record for your case. We then just give a recommendation to the development committee. The development committee makes a recommendation to the board as a whole, county board. So that it's not like you have to, in any special order, check the boxes. The meeting, if you choose, if you have that meeting, then it eliminates any contest or problems. Some objections, and if they're forced, could change what type of quorum you need for the county board. And for the people that are here, if they choose that, you still, I guess, would have the option to speak. But if you speak in a plan that's not presented, you get one bite of the apple. Your concerns would may be invalid by the time we get there. But having said that, it's at the pleasure of the applicant. What is your pleasure tonight?
I'd like to move forward with presenting that.
All right. Having heard what I said too, and not having Carroll Stream that way, that's your.
Right.
Okay. All right. But you can put what you want. There could be litigation that you're looking at. And the meeting is only going to go to 7:30. So, okay. And you had prior zoning relief, and now you want to change it to accommodate this, correct? Right. All right. Then the comments so far, then to read into the record, you have 14.39 acres. You're on well and septic. Outside comments, DuPage says no objections because they have no jurisdiction over this matter. The health department has no comments. No objections by stormwater at this time, subject to as it proceeds. Public Works, no jurisdiction. The Village of Carroll Stream has put in a letter, which I told you what they had requested. No comments from the Village of West Chicago, Village of Winfield, or Wayne Township. The Highway Township Commissioner weighed in with a letter. I'm assuming you have those and read both of those. The Carroll Stream Fire Protection District has no objections at this time, but will need additional information moving forward. No comments from the school district, and the Forest Preserve has reviewed it and provided in this notice and do not have any comments. The only thing I see from that, why the fire department didn't weigh in, when I looked at your plan, I couldn't see how fire trucks would get around in there. So, and if I read when I read the traffic study, that was not in there either. So those would be my concerns as we start. It's still up to you if you want to make sure this isn't a nice package and not go ahead tonight, we'll do it. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to you and you can start. All right, why don't we do one thing since you're proceeding? Let's, everybody you plan to testify tonight, let's swear them in.
Would you raise your right hands, please? You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give at this cause now at hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes, yes.
Do we have anybody on?
I know that he, yes, the traffic study, is that? That he has affirmed that that's
Okay.
where it's at. Okay, and I just will make one admonishment now. If in fact we get to 7:30 and can't finish, then we'll just continue it. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. As you alluded to, the request tonight is for conditional use.
Excuse me, can you state your name, please, and spell your last
Yeah.
name?
Connor Harmon, CONNOR HARMON. I'm with Timber Hill Group. We're the property owner. As you alluded to, we are here tonight for a conditional use amendment request at the subject property, also known as 27 West 364 North Avenue.
All right, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but in the way of housekeeping, you plan to adopt the prior record of what it is.
Yes,
All right, and have you tendered a copy of what we were provided, the site plan? Yeah, okay, what did you mark them with numbering? We have the survey, the site plan.
yeah, so the presentation I'm gonna run through is the blue sheet, and then
All right,
there's,
we're not to your presentation yet, and I'm assuming your presentation will be longer than last time. No offense. All right, so let's start. You have the survey, that's one.
correct,
You have the site plan, that's two.
yes,
Is this three you're gonna call it a combined exhibit?
yes.
All right. Is there anything else you wish to enter into evidence tonight?
All of those plans you have right there, we'd like to.
And when you say plans, would this be the total of three?
That would be its own exhibit, and then what you have in your right hand is survey, site plan, landscape plan, photometric plan, rendering.
All right, so once again, the title is one, the site plan is two, and then since you didn't break this apart, somewhere in exhibit three will be your, what is that? What else is in this other than the survey and the site plan?
The landscape plan, the photometric plan. There's an architectural rendering.
Okay.
And then there's an exhibit as well that kind of shows setbacks. That's also a site plan.
All right, exhibit three is, as he just said. And exhibit four will be
That's our presentation that has the same
All right.
plans in it.
their presentation. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Just as a brief introduction, I work for Timber Hill Group. We're the property owner of the property. I have a couple colleagues with me as well. We also have the tenant Main Freight in the audience, as well as Arco Murray, our general contractor. We have a representative from Cage Engineering, who's our civil engineer, and finally KLLA, who's on Zoom. If you flip to the second page of the exhibit 4, that's the slides I'm going to run through just to articulate the property. From a contextual standpoint, the site is at the corner of Morton Road and North Avenue. Adjacent land uses to the site are a church to the west, a industrial warehouse diagonal to the site, South of North Avenue, we have a restaurant and several auto and truck sales facilities and additional industrial to the south. To the east is an office building, and then to the north and kind of east is single family residential. As far as arterials and highways, the County Farm Road is to the east. We have Route 59 to the west. There's also Gary Avenue, and then eventually running east, you'll run into 355. If you flip to the next page, we have the plat of survey. To get a little more site specific, the site is approximately 15.8 acres. There's 2 buildings existing on the site, both of which total just over 4,000 square feet. I ran through the adjacent land uses already, but to the south, North Avenue is under the IDOT jurisdiction, and to the west is Morton Road, which is under Wayne Township. You flip to the next page. Before I get into our site, I'd like to kind of get into the site history a little bit and what was previously approved. So the property today consists of a gravel truck parking lot, 2 legal non-conforming buildings, and has been owned and operated by Trine Construction for over 30 years. The property was previously a salvage and or junkyard prior to Trine. And in 2021, the property owner at the time came forward with a request to rezone the property from R2 and B2 to OR, a conditional use for planned development, and a variation to establish relief for the existing buildings on site. And this was extended by the county in April of last year for 18 months. And just as a quick note, as existing today, the site does not have any stormwater infrastructure installed. Flip to the next page, page 5. Our site plan, which hasn't changed since the January meeting. It features a 47,100 square foot building footprint. Roughly 37,100 square feet of that features a terminal, and a 10,000 square foot building footprint will be office. The office is 2 stories, so there's 20,000 square feet total. In addition, we have 81 dock positions. We proposed 1 drive-in door, 92 automobile parking stalls, 44 tractor parking stalls, and 86 trailer parking stalls. From a setback perspective, we meet all required building and parking lot setbacks by code. We maintain a 60-foot setback to all the single family residential to the north and east. We exceed the 20-foot setback to the east. We significantly exceed the required 40-foot setback to the south along North Avenue. And we maintain the 40-foot setback to the west along Morton Road. Flip to the next page. It's the same site plan, but I want to address the design changes from what was previously approved to what we have brought forward today.
When you do that, then since we adopted the prior transcript, I don't remember exactly, I didn't have it in front of me. Would you then note each time how you're changing it from your prior presentation?
So our site plan and everything we brought forward is the same as January. I'm just noting the design changes from the previous applicant's approval from the conditional use in 2021. So nothing changed from January.
From the January meeting?
Right.
All right, we don't really, all right, you can go ahead, and we don't need to highlight what you've already talked about. But go ahead, if that's your presentation.
Yeah, so the previously approved conditional use on the property featured a 50-foot parking lot setback and a 3.29 building setback to the south along North Avenue. What we propose is 153-foot setback from the office and a 265-foot setback from the terminal. So this is a significant difference in terms of setback from North Avenue. Related to the rear setback, the existing approved setback is 100 feet directly to the north, and then 60 feet to the north and east, but abutting all that residential, which I think is a transitional setback. What we have proposed directly to the north is 189 feet, so it's an 89-foot increase in setback. And we also propose a 72.4-foot setback along the residential to the north and east. As I explained previously, the building will meet all required setbacks by code. The existing approval from 2021 consists of 238 parking stalls. And our proposal consists of 222 parking stalls, 92 of which are automobile, which has a much less intensive use than a typical truck stall. 86 of those are also trailer stalls, and many of those will be more storage. They aren't long enough to house a trailer and a tractor. So overall, our intensity of parking is much lower compared to what was previously approved. Again, the proposal is not requesting any variations. We're also proposing to install an opaque fence instead of the existing chain link that's on site. And finally, the previous development, which was approved, has a 67.3% approximate plot coverage percentage of pavement. What we're proposing is 57.6%, which is a significant decrease in surface area. And it will obviously have stormwater infrastructure as part of that. And then also page 3 of the other supplement I had kind of illustrates that in a visual perspective and just kind of shows the setback differences. You flip to the next page, it's the landscape plan. So we propose to establish a 60-foot forested natural buffer along the entire northern and eastern property lines. And overall, we as a petitioner and Main Freight want to create a good relationship with all neighbors involved. We intend to follow best practices and follow all building codes and zoning ordinances. As also previously mentioned, we propose to install a 6-foot opaque fence to be erected along the entire northern and eastern property line. It's hard to see, but along Morton Road, we propose a little grading. There's a 2.5-foot berm with 100% proposed opacity landscaping along Morton Road.
Quick question, not sure to throw you off, but your exhibit says you're gonna put the fencing along the entire northern and eastern. I didn't hear you say eastern. Did I miss that?
If I missed it, I mean northern and eastern.
Okay.
And then finally, Main Freight as a tenant is interested in several sustainable design elements. So they're interested in installing solar panels, gray water collection, xeriscape, rainwater harvesting, and any other features that kind of promote a net decrease in carbon consumption on the property. And then if you flip to the next page, it's the photometric plan. So very briefly, all exterior lighting will meet code. There will be no light that will spill over into adjacent properties. The foot candle measurements, which are possible to see, but are all 0.0 at all the property lines. And parking lot average will be 2.29 foot candles. There's also, when you measure light, glare is not associated and does not read on a light meter. So it may measure 0.0, but there still may be glare into adjacent properties. If that is the case, we propose to install shields along the light fixtures in case there is any glare and if there are any complaints or anything of that nature. Move to the next page. Our stormwater design. So everything that we propose is designed in accordance with the county-wide stormwater management ordinance. Our site sits lower in elevation than the properties to the north and west. Flows overall will be bypassed through the site and therefore won't be blocking any drainage. Discharge from the southern detention area will naturally flow to the North Avenue cross culverts due to the topography of the site. And finally, these cross culverts have already been designed to accept this flow and it will be a controlled release. So overall, there's no stormwater infrastructure on site and we're proposing to improve the existing property. Flip to the next page. We provided a couple of renderings of what the building will look like.
You know, we don't really need those because it may not mirror that and you just have to build within the code.
Okay.
And it's just the only reason I say that too often everybody gets focused on the rent on these photos and it doesn't match that and then they complain. So as long as if you were to proceed and be allowed, you build it pursuant to code.
Got it. Okay, we can skip this one. We go to the next page, it's the operations plan. The proposed hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Projected number of employees to be housed on this property are 50 to 60. The site would see approximately 60 main freight owner operator truck drivers per week. This is because main freight doesn't employ those truck drivers. They are independent operators, and they would most likely go to the site multiple times a week. From a peak movement standpoint, automobiles are at a 7 to 9 a.m. peak morning travel and a 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. evening travel. From a truck perspective, we're expecting 14 in and outs per day. And this would mainly occur in the morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and they would return throughout the day. Trucks would,
Wouldn't it though? And maybe it's in the traffic study, I probably, you have 14 out, you have more coming back, or same 14 trucks to go out, come back.
it won't be the exact same amount of trucks, because there'll be some stored on site for, a day or two or more, but it will be 14 in, 14 out each day. Finally, trucks will utilize both access points, will not idle, and there will be no refrigerated trailers or on-site fueling. Go to the next page. We prepared a traffic study conducted by KLOA. And overall, the study found that the capacity analysis generally has sufficient reserve capacity to accommodate the traffic to be generated by the proposed facility. There will be a full movement access on Morton Road to accommodate truck turning maneuver. And the supplemental write-in only access will increase access flexibility and minimize the truck activity on the north side of the site. Study also found that the proposed access system will be adequate in accommodating traffic estimated to be generated by the facility and will ensure efficient and flexible access will be provided. And finally, we have not officially submitted to IDOT or Wayne Township. However, preliminary conversations indicate requirements that we will make to the offsite infrastructure will be satisfactory. It's also the petitioners and the tenants request that we signalize the intersection. But from our understanding, IDOT will not approve that signal just based on the trip generated from our development.
All right, with the Wayne Township, you mentioned that it appears that will be satisfactory, but he did send comments in about a level of asphalt or something on there. Have you addressed those?
Yeah, we'll fully repave that Morton Road area that's adjacent to the site. And I think it was an 8-inch pavement.
And does Morton Road allow for, is there enough room for that? Let's see. The 50-foot long tapered right lane on Morton Road leading to the southern access?
That's our intention, is to install that.
Yeah, but they're trying to get through so we don't have to come back. Their concern is that based on the turn lane off of North Avenue, that there wouldn't be enough room to put that 50-foot tapered access. Has that been addressed at all?
It hasn't yet, but we're in communication with Wayne Township to get that addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen this letter?
Yes.
Okay, maybe you just wanted then either, I know you have the proposed plan, or you want to go through your proposed plan and then address that with your traffic study. First of all, if you just tell them all these, and if they're in there, we don't have to do anything. If they're not, I don't know if you how you want to do it, if he wants to amend it or his testimony, then we'll go from there.
Okay. If you flip to the next page. So the conditional use standards, pulled these from the zoning ordinance, but I wanted to just go through each one to establish how we demonstrate compatibility and how we meet these standards.
That's the first. We usually get, they read them or just say, we read them all, yes. All right. Go ahead.
So overall, we feel the development has demonstrated that the conditional use is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance, and that it is in like character with the surrounding land uses and represents a high quality industrial development that improves the North Avenue corridor while providing a use that is less intensive than what currently exists on site and of what was previously approved. So I'll go through each one, but
And what was previously approved was just parking of all semis.
right. So overall, the conditional use will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property. We feel that the development demonstrates that all setbacks for the OR Office Research District will be met, and this development will remove previously existing non-conforming setbacks currently on site related to the two structures which encroach into the front yard setback. Second one, the conditional use will not increase the hazard from fire or other dangers to said property. The development will be built pursuant to all current building and fire codes. Conditional use will not diminish the value of land and buildings in the vicinity of the proposed conditional use. The development demonstrates that it will not diminish neighboring land values, rather that it will improve stormwater infrastructure in and around the site. We will improve Morton Road, and we will restrict truck movements from going northbound on Morton Road. Neighboring property value will not be affected as a result of this development. In fact, in terms of tax revenue, the existing
Tax revenue, there's just so there's no complaint. That's not for our issue,
okay,
for zoning.
I will.
And you might want to, as they're sitting here and they're shaking their head just to avoid maybe continuing, tell me how, for the record, that it doesn't decrease their property values.
Based on the conditional use that was already approved that could move forward today, what we have before you is something that is less intense, with more setbacks, with less truck movement, something that isn't going to impact adjacent neighbors as much.
Okay. And just a quick thing, because I had a concern with those. One of the ways you're being able to make that setback on North Avenue is because you're taking down those two buildings that were just kind of grandfathered in, correct?
Correct. But also in terms of truck movements and flow of the site, we also push the building back a little more.
Okay. The only question I have is this a Monday through Friday or Saturday? I forgot what that said.
So typical hours are Monday through Friday, but on the occasional weekend or after hours, there will be trucks arriving throughout the day. And this is common with any kind of industrial development.
Yeah, I was just hopefully getting some kind of complaints or conversation. There's a church right there, and on Sunday they have a massive amount of people, and they have to hire the county to direct traffic. You anticipate, or could you put a condition of nothing on Sunday or during the hours of their service?
I don't anticipate any truck traffic during that time, but I don't think that we'd be amenable to condition, but our main freight rep can also speak on that.
Okay.
So number 4, the conditional use will not unduly increase traffic congestion in the public streets and highways. The development demonstrates a reduction of truck movements and overall truck quantities on site than what was previously approved. Traffic congestion will not increase compared to what was previously approved on site. In fact, the traffic study from the previous approval indicated there are 443 daily truck and automobile trips a day. Our traffic study shows that there will be 80 daily truck and automobile trips a day, 20 trucks, 60 automobiles. Further, the existing operation without the rezoning, conditional use, or improvements made on the property registers 293 trips a day, and that's today, totaling more than 200 trips than what our proposal will generate. Therefore, our development will significantly improve traffic flow and congestion as it exists today. Number 5, the conditional use will not increase the potential for flood damages to adjacent property. As existing, as I've said multiple times, there is no stormwater infrastructure on site, and it was not a requirement as part of the already approved CU. The development demonstrates that a stormwater detention system and other stormwater infrastructure will be installed as per county building codes. Overall, the development will be a net positive to the property and surrounding properties related to stormwater management. Number 6, the conditional use will not incur additional public expense for fire protection, rescue, or relief. We, the petitioners, say that we will pursue and obtain the proper permits from DuPage County, IDOT, Wayne Township, and any other relevant entities. Therefore, the project will be built pursuant to the current building codes. And finally, the conditional use will not otherwise impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or general welfare of the inhabitants of DuPage County, nor will it otherwise create a nuisance. We feel the development demonstrates that the improvements to the subject property will be an added benefit to the area, will create approximately 60 high-paying jobs, and will be built and upgraded to all code requirements. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Why don't you go through your witnesses, and then we can see if we have questions, and then see where we're at the time, and then what the public that are here to make comments.
Okay.
Who are you? What are your witnesses planning to testify to? The first one. Well, but here's what I don't need. It's possible. You can say what their presentations are, and they can just stand up and say they agree with you. Or they can say where you were wrong, or I guess they can just do the presentation. What is the presentation? That's what I'm still trying to find out.
Yeah, so my name's Fred Thady, T-H-A-E-T-E. I'm with Cage Engineering, civil consultant on the job. I would be responsible or am responsible for stormwater management, site layout, fire apparatus movement throughout the property. And I don't have any further testimony to give. I concur with everything that's been in the presentation, and I'm really here as support in the event that anybody has questions that may have been generated pertaining to those items: stormwater, site circulation, fire apparatus.
Yeah, I found that our stormwater requirements here in DuPage County are very strict, and they make you adhere.
Yep.
The only thing that I see, and maybe you can address it, Carroll Stream weighed in the fire department. They didn't have any questions at this point, but as that went along, I note on we laid out the building and how it's going to go. I don't see, or maybe we can address, can fire trucks get in there and adequately? Like, most of them show us a traffic pattern and the in and out, and then make sure that the big equipment can maneuver in there.
Yeah, I would agree that that would be typical for like a smaller, tighter parking lot. This facility is designed for WB 65 and even WB 67 trucks. And what those are the large interstate haulers, the large cab and the 53-foot trailers that articulate at the rear wheels. So this site has been designed such that those can get in and out. That's a requirement of the tenant. Fire trucks have zero issues making those maneuvers. We can and will do that demonstration with the fire department to prove that out to them. They may have other issues associated with fire flows, things like that, that we will have to address with them as well. But I can testify at this point in time that we've done the analysis for the larger trucks, and I am certain that a fire truck has zero issues getting through not only the truck areas, but also the north-south boundary of the car parking lot. The way that the parking lots are required dimensionally to be, fire trucks have no issues working their way through that parking lot as well.
Okay, that answers that real well. Thank you.
My name is James DeFilly. I am with Main Freight. Oh, sorry. Last name is spelled D-E-F-I-L-Y.
Thank you.
I am with Main Freight, the tenant at the site, and I agree with everything that has been presented.
Okay, thank you. Next. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is David Crystal, Christel. I'm with Arco Murray. We're the design build general contractor for this, and I concur with everything in the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
I thought of one thing. If the board has any question for each one, I should stop right there. On what you heard so far, did anybody have a question? Sorry, Bob? He does, I guess.
No, I don't have any questions at this point, Barry. I just don't have all of the exhibits with me as you do, so I don't know if the interior circulation is clearly indicated on an exhibit, but before this is finally resolved, it usually is, and I think it should be.
All right, did you hear the testimony of the expert that it does meet that? We can get one, but his studies, I don't know if you have any exhibit that says that?
Yeah, I did. I heard the conclusions, but I don't see, I mean, typically we have more than a conclusion. We have some sort of a circulation plan.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have an exhibit here today. We've done the analysis in the office. We normally have that as part of our final engineering plans that get our permit for construction. Not only does the fire department always want to see their specific apparatus through there, but typically building and zoning department here at DuPage County also wants to see that, as well as car vehicles going through the facility, and that the facility is adequate for the proposed use of the trucks.
Okay, but I know what the chairman's talking about. We have an actual exhibit that shows the pattern, show that the fire trucks and the semis will do it. Could we get that submitted to us?
Yeah,
Is that if you have those drawings?
we absolutely.
Or your findings? Yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
make it an addendum or an extra.
Yeah, I just need to have access to my computer to print one out for you, so.
Thank you.
There is a truck turning movement diagram at the last page of not the presentation, but the other stapled. And it shows access movement.
And that exhibit's primarily going to demonstrate just adequate access in and out of the site, not through the site. So we can continue to amend that to show full circulation through the entire site.
Okay, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that concludes our testimony.
Do you want to do me a favor? You had the copy of the letter from Carol Stream?
I don't have a hard copy.
For purposes of the record, when KOA comes on, would you address these issues? He probably doesn't have a copy with him, does he?
I don't believe so.
And what I hate when everybody else runs a meeting, I'm not talking into the microphone. All right, if you could go through the concerns, we addressed already the increase of blacktop that you're going to do with the highway, and you can inform him. And then if you could go, you have the other presentation, if he has more of your traffic study or something. And then I think there's 3 questions, if you could go through those with him.
Sure.
And I'm assuming there's.
I have Mr. Ketter, I have a point of order on that. I don't understand the value of going through the concerns. The petitioner was invited to meet with Carol Stream and resolve the concerns. So if we just talk about those concerns now, what value is that? Seems to me the meeting should occur. Resolution of the issue should be resolved definitively one way or the other, and that should be used to supplement the record. But I mean, you're leading the meeting, so do as you see fit.
All right. There's nobody here from Carol Stream. So I'm trying to give them more than they probably should be recorded. They have these objections. They didn't show up for tonight. I'd like to at least get some testimony in the record as to their stance on these concerns by the traffic study, and then let Carol Stream take whatever action they want after that.
So that's fine.
Okay. All right, I was informed one of the problems here is between the state and the township.
Yeah, so just to add a little color on all of this.
Well, okay, but here's my concern. Okay. Yeah, add your color and then we'll see. Maybe that'll clear up some.
Yeah, so we met with Carol Stream yesterday and we addressed the concerns they had. They gave us a couple supplemental site plans which showed an access onto North Avenue, which we were amenable to. But it really all depends on what IDOT requires, which we don't think that we're skeptical that the access we have shown here, that's right off of North Avenue, the southern access will get approved by IDOT. In the event it doesn't, we may pursue that southern access onto North Ave, the one that Carol Stream is recommending.
Okay. And you know what? Thank you. I guess I gave Carol Stream a courtesy that they did not afford us that you had met. Thank you.
Yeah, we met with Don Bastian, and Robert Mueller.
Okay, and that's who authored this letter. Okay,
Yeah, apologies.
all right. Do you, but the final thing is, do you have anything else that you want to add or your traffic expert wants to add?
Brendan, you want to address anything in the presentation?
Hi, everybody. First, thanks for accommodating me via Zoom this evening. I am Brendan May with KLOA, and we prepared the traffic impact study. I think my report is very well summarized in the presentation, and I agree with everything that was presented this evening.
Thank you. All right, before we go further, is there any questions from the board? Okay. At this point, before you probably have a final statement, there are people here. Does anybody here feel the need to, they want to say something for or against this petition? How many do we have? One?
Read your names if you could.
Or you would?
Does that include questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, here are three people. You want to stand and raise your right hands, we'll swear you in, and then we can proceed in the order you guys are most comfortable with.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give at this cause and out hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
All right, before we begin, let me just explain one thing. We put it, depending on where you live, if you're right by the site, we give you a little extra time. We usually look to limit it to 3 minutes. When you get up, would you tell us your name, spell the last name, where you live in proximity to the proposed, the proposal tonight, and then if you could, so we always know and maybe it's because we're dumb, but if you could each, as you get up, if it's not questions, tell us right up front, I agree or disagree, and then tell us why for whichever answer. Having said that, who wants to go first? There's 3 of you. Okay.
Okay, so
All right, now go up to the microphone. Identify yourself, spell your last name, tell me where you live in proximity. You agree or disagree and why? Or if you just have questions, sorry about that, you just ask your question.
okay, my name is Ann Peduzzi,
Can you spell your last name, please?
Peduzzi.
Thank you.
I live on Morton Road, 3 doors down from the property. We just have some concerns, and this is not only myself, but other neighbors in our neighborhood. And I got some of these from, I'm one of the reps for Wayne Township Association homeowners. And so here are some of my things, and I'm sorry that they're gonna be kind of out of order because he said things that brought up.
Wait for a minute, Bob, are you hearing this or not?
Yes, I can hear it.
Okay, put down just a hair and then.
Okay, first of all, I brought some pictures, okay? The first that I'll leave with you guys. The first one is,
Did you take these?
yes,
All right,
not allowed.
how recent are they?
These were May 3rd. I have them labeled, and this is
Okay,
April
Then
20th.
we'll take those as. Are you for, against, neutral? What is your position?
I'm gonna say neutral,
All right, then
but
we'll
you
take
have
it
no
as
question.
neutral exhibit 1.
So the first one is just one of the 18-wheelers pulling in. They take up the whole street when they have to pull into the left lane. So the traffic coming southbound has to stop and wait because their entrance is very not wide. And the other one, I guess,
And you're introducing that for the purposes of that it's a
just so you
safety
can
issue?
see that we don't think the street is accommodable to these large 18-wheelers. It's going to, affect the traffic going down north and south on Morton Road when they're trying to get in because they take up the whole three lanes. There's a northbound lane, a southbound lane, and a center lane at that point. Okay, and the other one, there's 5 pictures. This was after a moderate rain. And they're all pictures of standing water. And now you're gonna put asphalt down. Right now with the gravel, I would think that the ground is more absorbent. Now you're putting asphalt down. Where's the water gonna go?
I think that was part of their plan with the berms and that, and stormwater will address that. The code requires them not to expel water off. So that, and then, like I say, I feel confident with our water, and stormwater that would be addressed. If not, then you have a future, I guess, a future complaint.
Okay, another traffic thing that we have is. We would like, and you did address this, we would like right turn only into the property and left turn only out. So that they're not going, once they pass their property, we're all residential.
And in all due respect, I think we addressed that and this case and other cases. They'll put the signs up, they'll control it, but
Well,
that's as much as we can make that a condition.
okay,
And if it's a condition, they post it. This is a little bit better because they actually control everybody that's on the property. So that we will make, if it passes, I don't want one way to decide this at a time. That would, and I think that's how your thing is marked now, correct? And was the traffic study based on no right out?
Correct. We even indicated that we'd want all trucks to turn left towards North Avenue.
Okay.
then one more traffic concern, and I was going to try to take pictures and I couldn't. When the big 18-wheelers pull out of there and go to North Avenue, they have to wait for the westbound traffic to clear. So then they cross to the median, and now they're blocking all 3 lanes of the westbound traffic while they wait for the eastbound traffic to clear, so they can make the left turn to go east. It's a big concern. I know that no light can go in there because the church wanted one. The church was going to pay for it, and the state, IDOT, whatever you call it, declined them. So I knew that light that you'd like, state has already disapproved. The other thing was the water main.
While you're doing it, make it for the traffic study, and he's the expert on it. Based on her question about those turns, do you have a comment?
Just that North Avenue has that extra large median that can accommodate a 2-stage left turn for trucks when they're waiting.
No.
I don't have the photos or observations of trucks blocking the lanes during the peak hours, but some we could certainly look into more closely.
I mean, we've seen the trucks block all 3 westbound lanes while they're waiting for the eastbound. I mean, if you'd like pictures, I can bring it for the next
No,
meeting.
you're tough point if you've seen it.
Okay.
They can summarize, and the thing I was trying to get as much as we can in the record tonight. Okay.
Okay, and then he mentioned 14 trucks a day, and then he said 200. Which is it?
In all due respect, and they can answer that, I think it has the capacity for 200 trucks on the property, but they anticipate 14 out, 14 in, and the odd ones that come up from somewhere else coming in. Is that correct?
The 200 is what's existing today. What we propose 14 and a half of that.
So you're saying there's 200 trucks on the property, but only 14 will go in and out? Oh, sure. Sorry. Oh, that's okay.
So the use today, that's what is the 293 number, actually. What we're proposing is to completely demo the existing use, and our new use would then have the 14 a day.
Okay, but you'll still, yeah.
Just for the record, and you can go back for it, but you're gonna have to go to the mic. Would you state for the record your name again, just so we know who gave those comments?
Connor Harmon, Timber Hill.
Okay.
Oh, Okay, so it's my understanding that there'll be 200 trucks or trailers on the property, but only 14 going in and out. And the hours of operation are going to be Monday through Friday for the most part. And will that ever change?
The hours of operation. Oh, sorry.
And just clarify the one point. You have up to 200 trucks. You plan to have on site on a regular basis, 200 trucks?
No, so
I'm sorry, I just,
there's 44 tractor spaces and 86 trailer spaces. So a lot of times, James can speak to this, but a lot of times that'll just be holding inventory and storage. Those won't be trips generated. In the previous approval from 2021 had 238 approved. Maybe that was where the
but
number.
and you know what, let me clarify, maybe I'm wrong, Paul. This is a new request, so you can't dovetail the old request into the new one, correct?
That's correct. The old request, which was entitled by the county board, that will entirely go away in place of this new proposal.
Are you, ma'am? Well, wait a minute, are you finished? Huh? Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, I think, are you gonna answer one of her
I'm
questions?
just gonna address the daily operation.
All right, do that. So,
Again, James DePhilly with Main Freight. So as part of our daily operation, part of the 14 in and outs, those are our daily pickup and delivery trucks. So those will be the ones that are constantly moving. Part of the site design for the proposed tractor stall parking and then the trailer parking. Part of that will be to eliminate the trucks that'll have a need at some sites you might have seen before where trucks idle either overnight or in the afternoon waiting to find a bay. What that site plan does is that'll allow it to just park there as a matter of efficiency. They would either be unloaded or loaded, parked, and those 14 are the ones that are part of our daily operation that are the ones that technically come and go every day.
Will they be idling?
ma'am, you're good. Oh, sorry. What was your question, or repeat your question?
Sure. With regards to truck idling, they won't be idling.
That was in the
Part of
presentation.
what we do as kind of part of our culture at Main Freight is we really try and take the best care of our drivers. So what we try and do is really eliminate a lot of that with our site development. One, give them a place to park after they've come from driving from California or from the far East Coast. They have a place to park their vehicle as soon as they get on site. Part of what's in part of the Class A office space that's going to be on site there is hotel rooms. So there is not a need for them to actually park in or sleep in their trucks and leave them running to have the heat on and things like that. They have a place to.
I have a question.
Yes,
There's gonna be rooms for people overnight.
I'm sorry.
You said in the building, there's gonna be rooms for people overnight.
Ask her question. Ask her question.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna repeat it. I didn't give you the microphone. I'm sorry. It jumped out at me that that was not in the presentation. It's my understanding, and I agree with Janice, the purpose of a warehouse, and that's what you plan to build, is to store and distribute goods.
Correct.
I don't see, maybe you can bring my attention or clear the record up for motels and overnight guests and that, where that is in the conditional use. And maybe you or somebody else, you're on septic system. And if you're gonna have a big motel in that, I think you're gonna have real problems.
No, I probably overstated and misspoke on that. It's just a place for them to come and step out of their truck while their truck is being serviced so that they're not sitting in their cab while it's cold out in the middle of the winter and have their heat running or the truck or
How
anything like
long do
that.
they stay? We've had issues with other developments where people come in overnight, they're walking to a restaurant establishment. I mean, I'm a big supporter of our hotels here in DuPage County,
Sure,
so
absolutely.
we have associations for that. So
Yes.
I don't want the neighbors or someone's intoxicated walking down the street because they're going to leave the next day and walking into people's.
No, absolutely not. And that's not part of the way
Because we
that.
don't know who these people are
Mhm.
either, or where they're from.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry. Based on what Janice said in that, then you have no problem with this. Change the record, there will be no motel room and there might be a little rest area that would
So it's like a waiting area?
a waiting, maybe with some soft drinks or something, whatever, but they're not gonna wait for like 2 days and lay in there. Is that correct?
No beds.
No beds.
Ryan Battistoni, Battistoni, with Timber Hill Group. We've designed and are building other facilities across the country. And I think what James was referencing was, given their culture, they try to have amenities on site for their drivers, which a lot of terminals do not have, which does result in people walking down the streets having to go. They provide what they refer to as driver break rooms, so that while the truck is being serviced, loaded, not serviced, that's a bad term as well, but loaded and unloaded, the driver can go be in a area secluded from the office staff where they can make phone calls, do things like that. It's dedicated for drivers. It's not for, it's not open to the public. It's not anybody coming in over the road. It's main freight drivers coming in, and so that they don't run trucks idle while they're operational.
Let's have our staff carefully work with the petitioner to create a condition to this effect.
Well, that's what I was always thinking. We were gonna start here too. All right. And
Okay, and he did address the lights. One question, will they go out before, let's say, 9 or 10 PM as the church dims their lights at around 9 or 10 AM, so that I would hope it's to save money and electricity, but so it doesn't affect the whole neighborhood. You know, the church is large and they have lots of lights, but they dim them about 9 o'clock once their activities are over. So we're hoping that they will do the same.
correct me if I'm wrong, your presentation was these would be put in and controlled so that the light would stay on the property.
Okay.
And just for her question, do you have hours of operation on the lights?
From a security standpoint, because they do have equipment staying there, the lights do stay on. However, you know, in the photometric, we identified 0 foot candles, which is the metric for measuring light at the property line, and then he was shielding so that there's no reflectivity happening.
So they're down.
They're down and in, they're
Just a quick thing on that, from staff that told me,
fully cut off.
you will be working, they will be working with our staff on the dark light initiative. And what is it?
Dark sky.
Dark sky. And it would be my impression and my thinking that if you don't agree to it, we'll probably just make that a condition. So if you're talking to staff, think that in mind and probably save us the time and trouble of making it a condition.
Okay, I think this might be my last one, but the septic field, where does that tie into the building? I mean, we're all on well on septic, so the septic field is like real close to our homes. Your septic field is all the way on the north end. So how does that all tie in? And is that regulated?
Yeah,
Okay,
stormwater will regulate it, and if they think it needs to be bigger, smaller, or moved, that'll be done.
okay, all right. Thank you.
Right. Okay, would you give the pictures you had there? Who is next? There's 2 of you.
My name is Phil Peduzzi.
You have to get near the microphone.
My name is Phil Peduzzi, Peduzzi. I live 4 houses north of this property on Morton Road. My concern is,
Do you agree, disagree, or are you neutral?
I'm neutral.
Okay.
My concern is, in our area, there are 3 ponds plus the pond, retention pond from the church that comes across Morton Road just north of the entrance to that property now. And it drains in there and it goes into a storm structure. It drains diagonally all the way across to like where the water softener place is. And that is only a 12-inch pipe. Where's all this water going with all this pavement going down in this area?
How many do you have? Is that your only question or do you have?
Wrong question.
Okay, that,
Yeah, again, Fred Thady, Cage Engineering. So as a part of the countywide stormwater ordinance, we are required by law to accept any water that comes at us. So all that water, even the emergency overflows from those adjacent ponds in the church, when those fill up, they overflow at this property. We're going to be required to either pipe some of the lower flows, similar to what they're doing now, but 12 inches isn't going to cut it. It's going to be a much larger pipe. When that pipe capacity is exceeded, we're going to need to provide an overflow route. So the route's going to end up being south along Morton Road and then back through the site. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have this water go into our detention basin. We would have the offsite water bypassed around. And then any water or runoff that's generated on our property needs to go through a detention basin, and then it's a restricted release rate. So we end up putting in a small diameter restrictor that slows the water down such that every time it rains, you get a heavy rain, the water in the detention basin fills up and then releases slowly over time. And what that does is that the high flow of water through small drainage swales creates the flooding issues. And what detention basins do is slow that water down so you don't end up with the higher flood rates.
Okay. But that pipe that goes diagonally across?
yes, sir. You're gonna have to go to the microphone.
That
Please,
pipe
I know.
12 inches that goes diagonally across here, is that gonna be enlarged?
That pipe's going to be completely removed and new larger diameter storm sewer pipes put in.
What size?
We haven't gone through the sizing calculations yet. But that's part of the county code. Like we can't cut corners. We can't. The building department is going to hold us to their code to the T. So we're going to need to turn around and figure out exactly what size that's going to be, how that commingles with the water that's generated on site, gets into our detention basin and goes around the property. We're not going to be allowed to create any nuisance ponding upstream of the property. So anything that happens there right now, that Morton Road floods or there's water sitting in the roadside ditches, those conditions are all going to be improved with new infrastructure that gets put in.
One more question.
Can I just do one thing? I think it's to clear up one thing. Right now, there is no water detention on the property.
That is accurate.
You plan to add it.
Correct.
And you cannot send water off your property to another property.
We can only send water to another property that currently has the water flowing to it. What we have to do is
You can't increase, I didn't say it that way. You can't increase what's going on now.
Correct. We have requirements. We either have to match the lesser of what's going there now or the allowable release rate by code.
And I didn't
do the analysis for both and you meet the lesser of the two.
One more question.
And on the mic.
One more question. Are there any storm sewers in this? Where all this pavement is?
Yes, there will be storm drains on the pavement to collect water and take that storm sewer or that collected water directly to the detention basin.
Can it handle all that water?
Yes, that's what it's
handle it.
that's what it's designed to do. The size of this detention basin is sized so that it slows the release of the water down to the allowable release rate during the design storm, which in DuPage County is the 100-year, 24-hour storm event.
And that 100 years seems to be every 5 years now.
Which is why they recently upped the rainfall depths. Yep.
Okay. Because there's 3 ponds north of this area.
Yep.
Plus the church retention pond.
Yep.
All dump into that 12-inch pipe that goes here, and I don't know exactly where, but dumps out.
Yeah, there's culverts underneath road.
And I've seen that back up. I've seen it back up to 3 ponds.
I'm not going to disagree with you. That pipe at 12 inches is probably substantially undersized.
It is.
And you'll change it.
Yes,
And you'll meet the code of the county.
correct.
Okay, no more questions.
Okay.
One question.
Huh?
That was a long one.
I know.
It's hard to explain.
Wait.
Right.
Good evening.
Robert Lenz, Lenz. I own the property at 27W 250 North Avenue. Also, I am directly east of the proposed property. And to answer your question, I'm going to hold back on whether I'm for or against based on the answer to my question.
How many questions do you have? Oh, all right. I was gonna say, we're gonna have 3 or 4, but just ask all 4.
I have one question.
Okay.
But before I ask my question, I want to thank you for outlining what is there, not what's there now, but what's allowable there now and what you are proposing. It sounds to me like it's a drastic improvement for the community. A drastic reduction of traffic and chaos. I will say that since they have cleared that land, I witness multiple times a day tractors blocking the westbound lanes, all 3 lanes, while waiting to turn eastbound on North Avenue. It is a concern of theirs, legit. It's a concern, it's a safety concern for everybody involved. So I will attest to the fact that that happens multiple times a day. My question is, I must have missed it, but did you say that this is going to be all asphalt or is it going to continue as gravel? This is my question.
Okay, who's gonna answer that?
Ryan Battistoni with Timber Hill. There will be no gravel on the site anymore. It will be 100% improved to commercial standards.
To answer your question, I'm for it.
Okay.
My concern was the gravel and the dust all day long.
Oh,
They eliminated all of the screening that blocks the dust from coming at us by clearing the land. So if there's no gravel, there's hopefully no dust.
all right.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Well, look. Is it one of these that it's one question that's 20 minutes?
No, it's just one question.
All right. What is your question?
Question is, they're already preparing for the
I can't hear you.
asphalt. They cleared the land.
Oh, you know what? Since you're actually putting, we gotta put it on the record. You're gonna have to go, I thought it was like a 3, and I repeated, but I'm gonna lose it.
All right.
Reintroduce yourself to the court reporter.
So there. Thank you.
Okay, it's Ann Paduzzi again. My question is, from the looks of things, it's already approved. You guys have cleared the land. Yesterday you put down, and I don't know what it's for, you put down plastic orange stuff around the perimeter. And then in the afternoon, I guess, because it all happened yesterday, you put up the black like fencing, plastic around. So shouldn't you wait till you're approved to do that? What if you don't get approved? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that, Ryan Battistoni again. That work was not done by us.
And I'll ask staff, but I don't think that violates their prior conditional use, and it actually is probably more for your benefit with the dust and everything else. Paul, is that correct?
Correct. Really important things is that there was a previous use on this property that was grandfathered in. The previous zoning relief took that grandfathering and made it legal. As we discussed earlier, that if this use is ultimately approved and entitled by the county board, the previous use and the previous zoning relief will expire. It will be no more. Having said that, the previous user of the property obtained an excavation fill permit to clear some of the vegetation on the property. There is wetland on the property, and we have determined through a building permit for excavation fill and site inspections that the previous owner cleared according to a building permit, did not touch any of the wetlands on the property. And the orange fencing that you see up on the property now was put in by the previous owner per code and per the approved permit to identify where the boundaries of the wetland were. In addition, the black silk fencing that was put up relative to the clearing that was done on the site, nothing to do with any proposed excavation by the previous owner, or when I say excavation for the project by the previous owner or by the new owner. It was all relative to the clearing of the vegetation and also marking the wetland buffer and the wetlands on the property.
Okay. All right, that concludes, other than, is there any questions from the board? Okay.
Yeah, I just, Barry, just one thing. It seems to me this is a much better use than the prior use. I still have open questions about whether we have the final plan before us, how the IDOT issues are going to be resolved, what the resolution of the Carroll Stream issues will be. And if this is set for a recommendation, all of those things are going to have to be resolved before I would be inclined to vote one way or the other at a recommendation hearing. So the petitioner needs to be given some time. And if there are significant changes to what's been proposed tonight that result from some compromise with IDOT or approvals by IDOT or arrangements with Carroll Stream, we're going to have another public hearing.
That's true. Here's how I view it. Carroll Stream didn't show up. They had conversations and didn't fill us in. They are going to provide us with the documentation of the fire movement and give us a flow. I think the next recommendation is June what? June 1st. That's a period of time. If we don't have that, then we would just continue it. If it's in it, he let me believe this is in his computer, the calculation and the way to show it. We should have it in a day or two. The Carroll Stream issues, they're talking to Carroll Stream. That Carroll Stream hasn't talked to us and let us know. Their issues are what their issues are. They're in the record. If they weren't answered, then we can address it. If they're answered and Carroll Stream didn't like the answers, then it's on them. Everybody had noticed in the meeting. We're here. We're ready to proceed. Is there anything else I missed of yours?
Of mine?
Yes.
My only point is, do we have the final site plan in front of us, or will there be material changes from IDOT approvals or resolutions of the meeting that may have occurred yesterday with Carroll Stream? Because if there are material changes to a site plan, there's a new public hearing. If not, we can permit the resolutions to take their course, and we'll vote. So I wonder if June 1st isn't a little too early to.
We can check that. I just talked to Paul. It appears that the conversations that are necessary are between the applicant, IDOT, and our staff. Carroll Stream put some stuff in, and that's where it's at. I thought their presentation and the traffic report said as it is, it would work, and they're trying to make it better. Am I misspeaking? And do you agree with that? The traffic study? Then the only thing then, Bob, we can get that in, and Carroll Stream would be nice to update us, but as we go along, would you update staff if things changes? And then you can get in the traffic movement study you have in what, a day or two?
Yep.
And can you show that the trucks will actually work?
Yep.
Is it possible for you to present that to the fire department and have them sign off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that I can do that in a day or two, but.
Before June 1st?
Yes,
Okay. You have to present that to them anyways.
correct.
And if it didn't work, they would stop building. Is that correct, Paul?
To be clear, before the county can issue a building permit, we would have to have sign off from the fire protection district. Okay, so they would not even get a building permit to do any work on the property without that.
All right. Anything else you'd want, Bob?
No, I understand.
Okay. You have a final closing statement or if everything's been covered to your satisfaction? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, then we will close this. It's set for June 1st. If information or documentation comes in before that needs to have a new hearing, we will set it on that day. Otherwise, we'll proceed to the hearing. Okay. We set out the exhibits we had that you weren't privy to behind you, so you can take those to go home. If in fact you see something in there that caused you to have something within the next, what are we, 2 weeks from within the next week, you give us written comments. We'll put them in and then we can look at those, and if it raises to the level that the board feels that we need to have another hearing to address them, we will. Otherwise, we'll just proceed to the recommendation hearing. And you guys have the same thing. If you have something you want to submit, one thing you have to submit is the flow and that. If there's anything else, then do it, but we're gonna put a 1 week limit on that.
So they are going to address the trucks blocking the traffic.
You brought it up. It's a factor for us to consider. The traffic expert said that they had taken that into account. If they feel the need to address it, they will. And the question was, are they going to address the tractor trailers turning up Morton on to North Avenue? And I'm assuming you're saying coming out of there and going east, because going out west, they go right. Okay.
And the next meeting, is that a public meeting or is that?
It's open. There's no, we discussed it. There's no comment or extra evidence. If we get to the recommendation meeting on the 1st, there'll be nothing else that can be submitted. Or if you get leave to submit it, the chairman will be back by then. If he gets you leave, then I'm assuming if he gives you the leave to submit it, there'll have to be another hearing because people have to be reviewing it. Okay, and it's June 1st, 5:30 in this meeting. Before we close, does any member of the board have any questions that you need answered before the next meeting? Okay, Bob, you have, other than what we've covered? He hung up. Okay, I think we covered his. If you heard something that I missed from the chairman, please answer those. Then based on that, we're a little bit early from the time I said on it. We will adjourn the 1 week limit to get your comments in. We'll do it. And then if you're responsible to get us that fire plan and maybe how they can drive around and anything else you decide the questions as you think tonight that you want to respond to it right, go ahead and do it. Anything else, Paul, that we have from staff? Okay, then this meeting will be adjourned.